gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Beatsmith music.
Hey, what's going on, Raider Nation, man? Appreciate everybody pulling up. We're actually kind of late today. We had a little hiatus, but we're back at it. We're going to be talking about the free agency update. We're going to talk about the latest moves in free agency, what's to come. Obviously, looking to the draft. It's still coming, still a month away. A lot of things happen. We've seen some Raiders. Front office people visiting some prospects, quarterback, aka quarterback, and we'll talk about that today. I appreciate everybody pulling up. I was kind of late today, but let me get to the chat real quick because I see some people leaving comments here. We got all eyes on G, man. I appreciate you coming through. ONT6 in the building, my guy, man. Day one right there. Sean Schefter Johnson, always coming through with the facts. He said, I'm doing good. Excited. Okay. All right. So look, we got my guy, Yaya Hatamaki says, so you're saying there's a chance? My hopes are building up. Hey, man, it's that time of the year, man, where we have a lot to be excited about. I mean, it's that off season. We got all the expectations. This is where we build it up. Hopefully they live up to it next season, but there's a lot of off season left. But you know what? I'm not gonna let my co-host wait any longer. My guy, Raider Ray, man, let me give you a Raider chant intro.
What's going on, everybody? It's kind of nice to be back. We got a lot to talk about, so I'm excited to hop on the show.
Facts, 100%, man. What's up, man? How you been, man? It's been a minute.
Busy, and at first the Raiders weren't that busy, and then it slowly started to pick up, and a lot of people aren't that excited about it, but we're here to talk about it.
Yeah, facts. So let's get into it, man. Like, the latest moves, it was a slow start to free agency. We expected, for some reason, just from years past, we expected the Raiders that when you're a losing team, we're expecting like some changes, some guys to be signed in big contracts. But day one, it wasn't even anything like that. It was a lot of depth signing. This week, did you have any guys that you kind of were excited about that were signed this week? As far as I know there was a couple of corners. Tight ends was another, especially with the Darren Waller trade.
Yeah, and before we kind of get into names specifically, I just kind of want to address, we see it, right? We can kind of feel the temperature in the room of Raider Nation on how they're feeling with the offseason. Mm-hmm. But I just kind of wanted to ask you this kind of before we get into these signings. Do you kind of understand what Dave Ziegler is doing here? And even though it might not feel the best, even though the Raiders aren't going out and getting the biggest splashes, the big name signings. Mm-hmm. I just want to reiterate to Raider Nation that if you look in times past, I mean, I believe we have, $25 million in dead cap going to Corey Littleton and Alex Leatherwood and all those players. And I think that going and spending in free agency necessarily isn't a bad thing if you do it correctly. But we've seen it kind of bite the Raiders in the butt here recently, so I kind of like the approach. I mean, I don't like it, but I understand it, if that makes sense. I obviously would like to see some superstar caliber players come and be added to this defense. Mm-hmm. But I kind of get the idea of layering a blanket of depth over the defensive area, the offensive area, kind of filling holes. And you could really tell that Dave Ziegler is trying to build this team, because I know Raider Nation hates it, and I don't know why, but we're staring in the face of a rebuild. And if this is truly a rebuild, then it's going to start foundationally in this draft. So the Raiders have 12 picks. You go fill depth on the roster, bring in some veterans to compete with these young guys coming in. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited because this draft is now going to be the new foundation of the Raiders roster.
Yeah, it's funny. Dave Z's kind of backing up his words. Mm-hmm. Throughout the offseason or the beginning of the offseason. You heard in interviews, we're used to like coaches just giving that coach talk. They're going to say, it's just another game, one game at a time. GMs, we got to build through. But he's kind of backing it up a little bit. Like he kind of, in his interviews with Raiders media, the media overall, he kind of kept saying that, free agency, even in that interview he had with shout out to Bussin with the boys, he said the same thing. He was just like, hey, we're gonna try to improve the team, but you got to build the team through the draft, and free agency is not what it's cracked up to be. There's a reason why some of these free agents are free agents. It's really rare for a guy in his prime to be available. You know what I mean? Usually it's those guys that's like in their late prime, you know what I mean? Like they're looking to get paid. Does it make sense for the Raiders to do that? Not really, because they have a lot of like weaknesses, man. Like they got so many weaknesses. They got so many things that they can improve their team on. Like it just makes sense to, I think what they're going to do is they're going to be gearing up for next offseason. That's what they're really doing. They're just trying to build the foundation. They tried to win this year. They tried it. Let's be honest. They tried and it failed miserably. And now they're like, okay, it's low key a rebuild. Let's be honest. It's going to be a little bit of a rebuild. If they come out winning, I'll be happy. But it's looking like, just based off the moves, can you really say that we've improved from last year? No. You know what I mean? We're still kind of like more of the same, maybe a little bit less. And, maybe after the draft.
Time, like, if you think about it, are we, though? Was Derek Carr playing at an elite level? Nah. Was Darren Waller healthy for most of the season? No. So, and then when you're looking at the defensive, we lost Denzel Perryman, but outside of that, Rock Ya-Sin walked, but were any of those guys that really moved the needle for the team as a whole? Like, they were good players respectively, but if you substitute and you draft right, you can replace those kind of players, which is why they're not on the Raiders roster anymore. So yeah. I don't know. I'm not afraid of the word rebuild. I know everybody's scared of the R word, but the thing about this rebuild is that you have key players. You've got a Devontae Adams, you've got a Max Crosby, you've got some young players to kind of build with. Nate Hobbs. I know some people don't like Trevon Merrick, but he's a service starter on the back end of the defense. You've got Josh Jacobs, and you've got Colton Miller. So you've got some pillars on this team to kind of really start laying another foundation of a bunch of young players. And I got to say, like I said, I don't necessarily like it because I'd like to add some talent to the defense, but I understand it.
Yeah. No, I get it 100%, especially because you just looking at, like I was reading up on how they were using Darren Waller and the way they were using him in the blocking scheme. Like they really want a tight end that can block. Mm-hmm. And the way they were using kind of Darren Waller, it was kind of like a big slot. They weren't really kind of using him inside. If they did, he had a lot of help on that side. And I'm not saying that it makes sense. If Darren Waller were to stay healthy, he probably would have been here because he's a really talented player. But I was just looking into what they're looking for in a tight end. And I feel like, hey, this is the year. And even Dave Z said himself, this is one of the best years to draft a tight end. And like I said, everything that he said is coming true. Like they're most likely going to draft a tight end. They should, even though they picked up an OJ Howard and
Austin Hooper.
Austin Hooper. They're going to draft a tight end. It just makes sense. Those guys are like on 1-year deals. If they do something spectacular, maybe possibly, but most likely they're just going to be setting up their next payday with another team.
And I not to cut you off, I think that this is the standard now for off seasons. Now, next season, they're bracing for having over $100 million in cap space. So you're really trying to nail this draft, get those key foundational pieces, and then you can kind of next season go out there and splurge and add some real quality players and not be afraid to throw some money at them. But, I kind of feel like when Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels came in and they're inheriting a team, and then you kind of feel like this roster was a merge of John Gruden and Josh McDaniels' vision, and you could kind of see the team going in two separate directions, It just wasn't the chemistry. It just wasn't there, that you had some players 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I think with this kind of offseason, that maybe the Raiders aren't going to go out there and spin, and maybe they are going to be true to their word and that the drafts are going to start being focal points, and maybe we won't see those Chandler Jones splashes or the Devontae Adams moves. Or, like in the news recently, maybe Dave Ziegler will get aggressive and go out and go get a DeAndre Hopkins.
let's get into that. How do you feel about that rumor, man? Like with DeAndre
When I heard about it, I'm not
Hopkins?
gonna lie. I had to turn on the Madden. I had to go make a trade real quick.
Man, you have 2 number 1 receivers. You got, and it seems like they're going after every receiver in free agency that would fit in his offense or that's talented at that position. But I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is one of the most talented receivers in the league. I know he's 31, but I think he still has some left in the tank. It's just a matter of what the asking price is. If it's going to be for like a first rounder, I'm gonna say no. But you know, in my opinion, I think the Raiders, if they go that route, I wouldn't be mad as a fan. But at the same time, it's like, how about that defense? Come on, man.
Yeah, like but look, am I going to argue having DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams? It just kind of feels like Tim Brown and Jerry Rice, and then Rich Gannon, who is a cast off on other organizations, who wasn't really that good. It kind of looks like Jimmy Garoppolo, and it kind of looks like that Raiders regime a little bit.
Right.
I wouldn't be mad at it. Obviously, is it a need? Absolutely not. It's absolutely not a need. But is it something that you would say, would any Raider fan, if it was offered on the table, and I don't think it's going to cost a first round, if anything, I think the Raiders can package up picks and move up to that number 3 and kind of make something happen with that. So I don't know. Let's just kind of stay tuned. The Devontae Adams trade kind of came out of nowhere. If I was leaning towards a percentage, I'd probably say there's maybe a 20% chance that it happens. My gut kind of tells me it's not going to be something that goes down, but hey, if it does, I'm not going to be mad at it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be mad, especially if they get a rookie QB that I like. But hey, Ray, could you hold it down real quick? I'm going to start off with a comment that you want to address in the chat. Let's go with crazy name right here, Dial Up Willie. But he says, I think we have improved. We have a QB that can score in the red zone. Okay, shots fired. I got to give you a shots fired on that one, man. Boom, you got it right there. And then he says, if we did that a few more times last year and got a touchdown instead of field, we were in the playoffs.
Right.
Man, he ended it with that one. So how do you feel about that, man? Do you feel like Jimmy G is an upgrade over Derek Carr? I'll be right back.
Okay. Now, yes and no. Okay. And coming from a guy who really respects and likes DC, is he an upgrade? No, not necessarily. Is he necessarily a big downgrade? Not necessarily. There's games. Okay, Derek Ball pushes the ball down the field probably better than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's got a bigger arm. Does Derek Carr have more athleticism? I don't know. Physically, yeah, you would say Derek Carr has more athleticism, but does he apply it in the way that he should? I think that's the biggest question. Red zone efficiency, though. This is where in Josh McDaniel's scheme and system, I think we can move the ball fine. But I think when it comes to red zone, Jimmy Garoppolo is he has a really good red zone percentage. And a guy like an Austin Hooper, which, really under the radar, he's not going to be the top 3, top 5 tight end like a Darren Waller. But where Austin Hooper really made his money is in the red zone. He's an extremely big target. He's extremely effective. Majority of his scores came in the red zone. So Austin Hooper, Jimmy Garoppolo, you got Devontae Adams. There's some things that you can kind of work with. You've got some ingredients in the cupboard, and you can really make this offense move. So I don't know. Is Jimmy Garoppolo a clear upgrade? I think that we moved laterally, if I'm being honest with you. But I just think that Jimmy can offer you better things at certain areas of his game, better than Derek Carr. And I think Derek Carr can do a few things better than Jimmy G in a few areas of his game.
I think so too, to a certain extent, but I think Derek Carr is a better quarterback. But I do believe that Jimmy G is a better fit. I mean, he was drafted by the Patriots. He was drafted by Josh McDaniels. He was drafted to fit in that system. He played behind Tom Brady for years. So, like, I think Josh McDaniels, like that's his guy. So it's a great fit when you look at it from that perspective. And I think we've seen to a certain extent how a great fit can look on with this offense with Jarrett Stidham. I mean, maybe I don't know if Jarrett Stidham is ever going to pan out as a QB, starting QB in the league, but he came in and had 300 plus yards against the Niners defense. And some may argue a lot of people didn't have a lot of film on him because the next week later after the Chiefs, he kind of laid an egg. But you were able to see the offense kind of move efficiently. You could see him going through his reads. He was comfortable in offense. He was there for 4 years. Now
So
going to
someone
Jimmy
who's
G.
comfortable in the offense, would you put this on the table that Jimmy G is obviously a better quarter than Jarrett Stidham?
Yes, I'm not a big Jimmy G guy though.
I know you're not.
It's hard for me, but I'm just trying to be fair. But I'm because I'm like, hey, look, man, Jimmy G just came from the Niners, and he had literally everything you could think of. He had one of the best offensive coaches, one of the best defensive coordinators, best defenses, tight end, running game, O-line, you name it, he had it, and he didn't get it done. He wasn't healthy enough, and even when he was healthy, it just looked like he struggled. He played like he didn't have any weapons. He played like he didn't have the right coaching, but he did. And I don't know. I just hope maybe it works out for the Raiders. I hope he becomes the greatest quarterback in Raiders history. But I'm going to be honest. Like, hey, let's keep it real. Like, did he do anything with the Niners? And they had everything. And the Raiders are, they're not as talented as the Niners. Let's be honest here.
I mean, you did help him go to a Super Bowl. I mean, you could have all the talent in the world around you. I mean, you still have to throw the ball. You still have to make decisions.
Man, did you see his numbers in the
No, but you're there. You punched the ticket, regardless of numbers.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think he's a leader. I do think he's had a lot of weapons around him. He's been blessed with, the defenses, the coordinators, everything that you just alluded to.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say something that a lot of content creators aren't going to say, and it's the fact that we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know whether good or bad. A change of a team and an organization and timing and life and situation and just the ball is rolling your way here and there, a couple games in the season. You honestly don't know what's going to happen. Rich Gannon was not looked at as this quarterback that was just going to come to the Raiders and lead the Raiders to this Super Bowl. Like, Rich Gannon wasn't looked at that. What happened? They go get Rich Gannon. They go get some pieces. It was the right timing, the right coach fit. Who knows? I know Josh McDaniels really likes Jimmy Garoppolo. We'll see. I'm kind of with you. I'm not the biggest Jimmy G fan, but he is our quarterback right now. We've all been clamoring for a fresh start at the quarterback position. So I think, for the most part, if he's our starter, then let's just kind of see what he can do.
Right. And, LV Maximus in the building. Appreciate you coming through. So I'm with you, ONT6. ONT6 just said, I love the moves, and he's excited for Mr. Z's next move. I think, to me, I want to see how they draft. I'm really curious because that's going to determine if the Raiders are going to be good for the next, 5, how many years? You know what I mean? Because, let's look at all these great teams that we mentioned, like the Niners, and we can talk about some of these teams, is because they hit on their draft picks. They hit on the first few rounds in the draft, not like the 5th and 6th rounders. I mean, I'm glad we got Max Crosby on the team. I'm glad we had the Renfros, but hey, we had there's no reason why we've had 3-4 first-round picks within 2 years, and we are. Is it there one is with the team? Maybe one.
Yep.
Pharoah left. Abram is on. Arnett is on.
Arnett's not even in the league.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is so crazy, and that can't happen. That's not a recipe for success. So the draft is what I'm looking forward. I mean, these free agency, I see what they're doing. They're not gonna overspend for free agents. They're gonna try to build through the draft. They're gonna get some depth signing, some quality signings. You called it. You predicted it early on. But how about the corners? I mean, I know you were talking to me the other day. I didn't have a chance to take a look at him, but I've heard some good things. Was it Duke Shelley?
Yep.
What do you think about him? He's not a big corner though.
No,
he's not a big guy.
No, but don't let that be. We got to. I'm trying to lure you away from numbers a little bit here. I'm trying to let you put you in the game a little bit here.
All right.
Duke Shelley. I believe he's a 5'10" corner. Primarily they try to put him inside of the slot. In college, he was best as a perimeter DB. They put him on the outside, and he just kind of came alive. So this is a guy that the Vikings didn't want to let go. But this is a dog. This is what Raider Nation has been claiming for on the defensive side of the football. Somebody who is nasty. This guy is a Raider. Let me just let you guys know before you even see him take the field, this is going to be the guy that's going to be competing with Amik Robertson. And if Amik doesn't have a huge training camp, he might be on the verge of seeing the door. I think Duke Shelley just offers more when it comes to man coverage. He plays like he just has a swagger to him. A lot of PBUs, just likes to jaw with wide receivers. And this is a guy that I just like. I think he fits the scheme well. I think he fits the personnel well. And I think he fits the culture well. So Duke Shelley, somebody I'm pretty high on. Of the corner signings, this is definitely my favorite one. So I'll kind of get into a segment that I was going to get in with you. So I've got top 3 defensive signings so far for the Raiders and top 3 offensive signings. So I could talk about the defense while you maybe come up in your head maybe with
I mean, go ahead. But it's like tomato. It's tomato. It's not.
So I got Duke Shelley at number 1. He's my favorite defensive addition so far. Mm-hmm. Number 2, I'm going to go David Long Jr. This is a guy played for the Rams predominantly in a zone scheme. Didn't necessarily fit what he was wanting to do. He wants to play a lot of man. He's a man coverage corner. Coming over here, he's still young. I believe he's 25, 26 years old. He still has a lot of football left in him, and maybe a change of scenery is going to be best for him. Another guy just to come in and compete. I think this is going to be a trend this offseason. You're going to see a lot of defensive backs added to this defense. You're going to see a lot of linebackers. You're going to see a lot of defensive tackles, both in the draft, both after the draft, practice squad signings, undrafted free agents, you name it. And the third favorite defensive signing for me is Jordan Willis coming over from the 49ers. So same way how I thought Duke Shelley might be Amik Robertson's replacement, I think that Jordan Willis is, without unshadow of a doubt, Cleve Farrell's replacement. This is a depth guy. This is a rotational piece who just gets after it. 49er fans love this guy. Obviously, he's buried on a defense that's just loaded with talent. You look over there in the Bay Area, and the 49ers have a plethora of weapons in the front seven. And this was one of them. This was a guy who came off of a rotational piece. If there was one word I can describe Jordan Willis, it would be disruptive. I mean, he's just always there. He's a relentless pursuer. He gets after it. And that's just kind of what I'm looking at when I'm getting a depth piece like that. So, yeah, for me, Duke Shelley, David Long Jr., Jordan Willis, I think that they were all pretty decent additions.
Okay, so are we not including re-signed players or just new additions to the team?
I did just free agency signings, but you can, because I did have a couple players in there that I took out.
All right, I'll just name a few. I think the biggest one was to re-sign Illuminor. I feel like bringing him back. I know you're a big Illuminor guy. Yeah. You got to bring back somebody to at least like solidify that old line. A lot of people were not a huge fan because of his penalties, but he was pretty solid overall. You just need to have someone there, especially it gives you a little bit more ammunition. I would say like in the draft, it'll give you a little bit of more get flexibility in the draft. You don't have to force the pick. You can go for defense at number 7. You can trade up. You can go for a player that you want instead of like going into the draft like, oh, we have to get a right tackle in the first round because and possibly they might. Who knows? There's a lot of talented players at that position. Another guy that I liked was hold on one second. Even though I was tough on it a little bit, Jimmy G, just because he's just a perfect fit, a perfect fit for this offense for McDaniels. He knows how he wants to run the offense. You could tell that McDaniels is going to try as much as possible to surround him with as much weapons as possible, and it's just a great fit. Yeah, I think it's just a great fit. It just makes sense. And then I'll say after that, I'll say Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is a receiver that's played well in the system. He can play in the slot. You see what they're doing right now. They got 3 or 4 receivers that can play in the slot. That's kind of like AKA New England Patriot football right there. Like they got a lot of versatility. Jacoby Myers, he can play on the outside, get inside. Renfro could do a little bit of both, but more inside. You want him inside, but obviously, Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. He can go anywhere. So I'll say you could argue that Jacoby Myers might have been the best one, but it's kind of a little bit like, did we get better? We're kind of still the same. Maybe possibly might be better because right now what they're doing is they're going for system fits. They're not going for the most talented players. They're going for players that fit their system. I'm kind of like, nah, you need to get the best players possible and just create an offense around their talent. But hey, some people might say the Las Vegas Patriots, but I'm gonna be of contrary to what a lot of Raider Nation believes, and I think that they did get better offensively.
You nailed it. I think bringing back Jermaine Illuminor gives you a lot of flexibility in the top of the draft. It's the guy who can play tackle, guard. Is he an elite tackle? No. Is he serviceable and can hold it down for a season? Of course. Jacoby Myers was big for me. I think he's a clear upgrade over a guy like Matt Collins. We've seen the success that he had, coming over, having a career year, 600 and some odd yards. Jacoby's familiar with this scheme. He's never had a Devontae Adams on the opposite side of him to really free things up. So I think Jacoby Myers is a clear upgrade. And we talked about it off air. Jacoby Myers was my wide receiver one coming out in free agency. So was it a huge need? Not necessarily, but the Raiders got him on a great contract. Jimmy G was my second player on offense that I was excited about because you kind of nailed it. He's just a perfect fit. The Raiders are going to run the ball a lot. Josh Jacobs is on a franchise tag. Jimmy G hasn't had more than 500 passing attempts in a single season in his career, even when he was healthy for those full 17 games. I believe it was 16 at the time. Whatever it was, he was fully healthy, didn't get past the 500 attempts, and it's a run-heavy system built off of play action, built off of intermediate passes. Yeah,
and I'll add this too, because you mentioned this earlier we talked about how Jimmy G is a great fit for the offense.
Yeah,
and McDaniels loves to run in-breaking routes where you got to hang in the pocket and you got to like wait for that player to break open, and that's literally Jimmy G. He's good at that, and that's what we mean by great fit. You know what I mean? And that's why it's going to look better on offense. But is he better than Derek Carr? It is what it is. At this point, it doesn't matter. He's not here no more. But hey, sometimes the change of scenery is good, and I think Jimmy G might fit in the offense. I hope it works out. But
yeah, based off of talent, is he better than Derek Carr? Probably not. Like I alluded to it when he stepped aside. But DC can push the ball farther down the field. He has more of a gifted arm in that aspect.
Yeah.
But hey, look, in this scheme and system, Jimmy Garoppolo could be a less talented quarterback, but be far more efficient in this scheme than what Derek Carr ever was. So could Derek Carr go to the Saints and be a better player than Jimmy Garoppolo? Of course, but is Jimmy Garoppolo an upgrade over Derek Carr in this scheme and system? I'll say it's a possibility.
Right.
I'll say it's definitely not out of the question. But yeah, Jermaine Illuminor was going to be my third, but I didn't do players that were formerly Raiders.
Okay.
I put Austin Hooper because I just think his efficiency in the red zone is going to be big. Obviously, you trade away Darren Waller. That opens up a big key cog. You lose Foster Moreau, and unfortunately, Foster Moreau, for everybody who doesn't know, he was diagnosed with cancer. So prayers out to Foster Moreau.
Prayers out to Foster, man. He seemed like a good locker room guy too, and it's crazy to find out like that, man. Hopefully, he gets back.
What a blessing in disguise, right? Who knows if free agency wasn't this year, if he would have ever caught on to it. He happened to go get a physical and just happened to find out that, he got it. So I pray that he's able to make a recovery. But with that being said, the Raiders have a big hole at the tight end position. You lose Darren Waller, you lose Foster Moreau, you re-sign Jesper Horsted. I think Austin Hooper, OJ Howard, I wasn't too high on. I don't even necessarily know, depending on what tight end you take. I mean, Jesper Horsted might beat him out in camp. Jesper Horsted is receiving.
Man, I was a big OJ Howard when he was nice, but he just injuries, man.
Stay healthy. Can't stay healthy.
But we'll see, man. We'll see. He's given an opportunity right now to be on the Raiders, so we'll see how it works out during training camp. He might be in the best shape of his life. He might come in and put some numbers, but I'm glad they're attacking the tight end position after losing Waller, trading him. They're getting some capable tight ends that can possibly compete, but I think, like I said earlier, they're going to have to draft. But LV Maximus mentions another offensive player that the Raiders signed. He says, what are your thoughts of Dorsett assigned number 11 for the season? I've seen that. Oh man, it's
as long as nobody takes
soon.
number 50.
It's too soon for me, man. It's too soon, man. I was a big rush guy, but it's just like it's gonna be weird seeing that number out there.
What better way to move on than just put it on somebody? You gotta. I mean, he was on my notable mentions. I don't think he's gonna be like a prolific. He's gonna have to compete for a roster spot too. We kind of seen this last season, right? The Raiders kind of loaded up at their wide receiver position. And there were some surprise cuts. You know what I mean? They went out and got Keelan Cole, DeMarcus Robinson. Tyron Johnson was a fan favorite for me personally in the preseason. So we've seen all these guys, right? And we talked about them making the spot on the roster, but it came down to Matt Collins, a guy who didn't have a good preseason and that Raider Nation wasn't very high on. So this wide receiver core, we're going to see names added to it, but I really wanted put too much attention and focus on like these depths. I think Philip Dorsett is a good return man. I think he's going to offer a lot in special teams, which is a need for the Raiders. So I think Philip Dorsett, if he's going to find a home for the Raiders, it's going to be on special teams.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a receiver that I was excited about, and I think it's someone that we should keep an eye on, kind of like maybe the Mac Hollins type of wide receiver a little bit, is Cam Sims. He's coming over from the Commanders. Big,
that's another guy I was going to mention too. Yeah,
Cam
he
Sims.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like him. I like him a lot. He's physical. He attacks the point. He high points the football. He's a kind of a matchup nightmare. Safeties can't block him. But yeah, Scott Turner came over from Washington with their offensive pass scheme. So obviously they had conversations. They went out and got Cam Sims, and I think he could come into this system and maybe find a way to find some production with the silver and black. It's a signing that I really like, and who knows, maybe the Raiders can flex him into a tight end position every now and then to get vertical. They love to run the seam route, so what better way than to get a 6'6" wide receiver who's just a freak athlete
you know what I love hearing too is when I hear opposing fans get mad that we signed their players, like the players that they like. So guys like Duke Shelley, I seen a lot of Vikings fans on social media kind of man, they were frustrated. They were kind of upset that he was, he left the team because they felt like he was a good player. So I'm glad the Raiders were able to pick up a guy like that, especially fan base. They would know a player, especially they watch him every Sunday. And then Sims was another guy that I was about to say the Redskins, man, the Commanders fans, they were kind of sad to see him leave. And there's a connection though. Scott Turner, who's is he the passing game coordinator?
Yep.
So he's familiar with. And I think someone in the chat said his name right. Cole and Turner not Cole and Turner. Cole was brought back though. Keon Cole was brought back. He was re-signed.
I don't know that he makes the roster. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, he's coming back because he likes his chances with the Raiders.
I don't think he's gonna cut. I don't think he's gonna make it. There was just so many drops last season. I don't know if you guys remember, but Keelan Cole had so many opportunities to kind of make a play when his number was called. Now he did in that New England game. That was a remarkable catch, and it's debatable if it was actually a catch. Yeah. I think the foot was on the line, personally, just being honest. But we'll see.
Dial Up Willie says, my biggest interest is Sims. Curious to see if they utilize him at tight end at all. That's interesting because he is a big receiver.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of like how John Gruden and Greg Olsen kind of found Darren Waller. Just one of those athletic freaks, and you miss out on Darren Waller, so maybe you can go get a guy like this and just move him around the offense. Right. With that size, you can use him as a matchup piece.
Raider Gabe 420, my guy. If you guys haven't subscribed, go ahead and check his channel out, man, and subscribe to his channel. He says this is the ideal way to start the new foundation for this team, build through the draft and build one side dominant and hit on defensive pieces. Hey, man. Hey, the thing is, they have to execute. Execution. I see what they're trying to do. I'm not gonna lie. I was one of those guys. I was like, man, hopefully we can get someone, maybe that corner, maybe that safety. But they didn't do anything. They didn't sign any of the big free agents. So we'll see how the draft is where I'm really gonna be curious to see how that kind of goes. But it's a month away, and we'll get into actually today. We're gonna actually do a little mock draft, so stay tuned for that. Man, I'm spinning everywhere. Cash Lord, that's a Cash Lord. Cash Lord Raider says, so now our offense is better. It's not a rebuild. I knew I would convince you. If y'all don't know, Cash Lord Raider is Derek Carr. He's not the biggest Derek Carr fan. Let's just say that. He's not the biggest Derek Carr fan. He was calling him trash from day one. And I don't think he's trash, but just didn't work out.
Look, I think it's a rebuild. I think our offense can get better and it still be a rebuild. I mean, that's why you rebuild, is to make something better. Obviously, anytime you move on from a franchise quarterback, for 10 years almost, and you get rid of a top 5 talent. I mean, yeah, they kept Devontae Adams. They franchise tagged Josh Jacobs, but I mean, let's be honest. Like when you're missing that quarterback piece, and the defense is where it's in the state that it's in, I mean, it's hard not to call it a rebuild, because that entire defense is going to be rebuilt. You're going to have a new play caller at the quarterback position. This kind of feels like the true year one of Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels in their vision.
Myers is starting on the other side, right? he's basically starting on the other side. You pay him that much.
Oh yeah, no, he's locked into this roster.
Exactly. And Dorsett, I get the Dorsett sign in too. I wanted to add too as well is he's a speedy guy. He's the one thing that's been missing from this offense for a while now. So it makes sense. He's played in the Patriots offense, so he's familiar. So you can see like McDaniels is going after guys that are familiar, or Dave Z and McDaniels are going after guys that they feel like are good fits for this team and that could you know what I mean, and that played in the offense too as well. Like a lot of these guys like Myers and Dorsett, they played in that offense. Guys like Sims, even Sims, Turner, he's familiar with them. So he's gonna try to see if he can make the roster as well. But yeah, man, hey man, we're super excited, man. But what did you think? Just to, you know, pivot real quick, let's talk about the draft a little bit, right?
Okay.
And this week, there was a few pro days. Obviously, CJ Stroud, Ohio State. We had Kentucky, Will Levis, and obviously Alabama's pro day as well, led by Bryce Young. And it was not rumored, but it's reported that the Raiders met with Bryce Young. They're one of the teams that met with Bryce Young. And I'm sure they're doing their due diligence or whatever. But how do you feel about that? Like what? Because, you know, there's been a lot of talk with Anthony Richardson. You know, there's a big possibility he can go really high, especially with his like historic, you know, combine. And then CJ Stroud, you know, he's kind of been picking up a lot of steam, especially with the size and, you know, his consistency and his production at Ohio State. So Bryce Young might be the guy that might be that third guy, might be that third QB. Would you trade up for a Bryce Young?
Yeah, I mean, especially if he's there at 3, you know, say Anthony Richardson maybe gets overdrafted and somebody drank the Kool-Aid and takes him over Bryce Young based off of size and measurables and all of that stuff. Yeah, I think that number 3 spot for Arizona is crucial. I think it's going to be extremely valuable pick. I think Arizona, they're really sitting at that spot that, you know, they could go a multitude of ways. They can either go out there and get the best defensive player on the board, or, in my opinion, they should probably stockpile some picks and really start to build that roster out. But 3 is going to be valuable. And I remember when John Gruden and Mike Mayock, you know, Derek Carr, every offseason, it was, are the Raiders moving on from Derek Carr? Or is this not John Gruden's guy? And you would see that they would meet with the quarterbacks, right? Like I remember they met with Kyler Murray, and I remember all of these reports that, you know, the Raiders had sit-downs with them. It's the ones that they don't sit down with are the ones that I think that they're more interested in. It's so the fact that they didn't meet with like an Anthony Richardson, you know, the Raiders weren't at Will Levis's combine. You know, they're looking at probably those.
You're funny because I was thinking in my head like they're gonna try to throw away the scent as like they're trying to go away from. They don't want people to look into who they're interested in.
Yeah,
because they possibly want that player to drop to them at 7 or whatever. You know what I mean? Where it makes it possible for them to get that player. So you're right about that. Like, but I think Anthony Richardson's pro day hasn't happened yet. It's on the 30th. So we'll see if the Raiders show up.
They'll be there. They'll be there.
In the back. Hopefully no one knows, but they're there. But we'll see, man.
Do the Raider thing. This is where I'm at. Like, do the Raider thing. Like,
oh yeah, classic Al Davis.
This is Al Davis all over. I need an Al Davis pick. As crazy as that sounds, and as much as me and my heart, like when I scout and talent players, I try to like go away from that. This is the one guy where I feel like Al Davis in me is like, no, that's the guy.
I'm gonna give ONT 6, man. Speaking of Al Davis, he goes, just win, baby. Let me give him.
Just win, baby.
Gotta give you that right there, man. But yeah, man, it would be a classic. Al Davis will be all over Anthony Richardson. You know what I'm saying? Like that is the biggest, the fastest. Avocazzi, what's going on? Appreciate you coming through.
What's going
on? And T Saphir in the building, my guy. He says, I've been saying since day one that Stroud is QB1. No, you've been saying he's QB1, but there's no way that Bryce gets past number 2 spot, either trade up or the Texans. I'm hoping they're not going to do it because they're right now the veteran QB they signed was Case Keenum. So that's, and then they obviously have Davis Mills on the roster. I was thinking like maybe they might go defense because, you know, they got a defensive coach. You know, he wants to build a bully out there, but it just makes so much sense to get a QB because it's just about value. When are you going to be here at number 2, especially when you're building a team?
You got to think they have another first-round pick.
Yeah.
So they can go get another defensive player. I believe they're on the board somewhere. I think like 12 or 14. We'll see when we do the mock draft, but they're in those early teens, and they could still go get a good defensive player and go get a franchise guy. So, yeah, to see Bryce fall to like 3, I just don't see it. I don't.
I feel like something weird is going to happen. Something weird is going to happen. I wouldn't mind. Look, this is also another scenario that we haven't talked about because we keep on this channel, on our show, me and Ray, we've been talking about QBs going one. We want the Raiders to draft a QB for the future. We want to be excited about the future. We know we're looking at all these teams that are successful in the league, and they got these young QBs on rookie contracts, and they built the team around that rookie deal. So we want to get that started as soon as possible, and we know that Jimmy G's contract is pretty much a 1-year deal, so they can get rid of his contract after 1 year. He could be a placeholder. But that being said, I wouldn't mind the Raiders going defense, man. I'm not gonna lie. We need a number 1 corner. We need a number 1 corner. We need Jalen Carter. We need a difference maker on that side of the ball. And we didn't attack free. Like, I know we talked about the Duke Shelleys and David Long Jr., but these guys are role players. They're not number 1 corners. Are they starters? Is any of these guys starters?
Duke Shelley's a starter.
At 5'9".
Yeah,
5'9", starting outside corner.
I'm telling you, don't.
Yeah, that's
he might get picked on a little bit.
Meek's twin brother right there. You know what I mean?
Nah, don't disrespect Duke Shelley like that.
I'm just saying, in today's NFL, man, can you get away with being 5'9" on the outside boundary corner?
No, but that's where he plays. He's physical. I'll just say that he's physical.
We'll see. But would you say he's not a number?
Is he the guy that I want to see out there for 17 games as the number 1 guy? No. Right. If you're telling me he could be a number 2 if they decide to keep Nate Hobbs out there, yeah, an average number 2. Like, he's going to be tough and he's going to compete. I don't think he's going to be a complete liability out there. But I see what you're saying. The Raiders need somebody young, somebody with swagger, size, athleticism, speed on the outside.
Yeah, so you can agree that the Raiders do need a number 1 corner.
Yeah, I would, but I don't think you have to get that at 7. Like, and we'll get into it when we get into the mock draft, because there's a few things once we get to that pick that we're going to kind of like talk through, work through, and make the decision. I just don't want to hop on there and in 5 seconds I pick who I want. I think we should think about it and look at all the possibilities.
Willie said Raiders had people at Levis's pro day, but McDaniels and Ziegler were supposed to be there, but they skipped out last minute. I didn't hear too much about the Raiders being there, but if that's the case, like, hey, just like Ray said, like, sometimes they're not gonna, they don't want to show their hand. They're probably gonna show up to these prospects to throw the scent off on who they really like. So I'm gonna be paying attention to that Anthony Richardson. If they don't show up to that, then maybe there might be a chance.
Everybody's gonna be there. I know it.
For real. Cool Cam says Richardson should be drafted in the 3rd round, man. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, man. But it's not gonna happen.
Don't disrespect Anthony Richardson like that.
Disrespect him right now, but my guy, Robert Pena, he says, salute Pharoah Ray, man. Appreciate you coming through, man. Always showing support, man. One of my day ones supporters. Avikazi he has something to say. He says, I know AR-15 is Ray's guy. I like the guy too, but where do you think we have to trade up to in order to secure him? Or do you think it's possible he'll still be there at 7?
Is it possible? Yeah. I think it's only possible if the Indianapolis Colts are high on a guy like Will Levis.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Every time I think about that, I'm so split on the decision of where Indy could go. I would want to say, like, if I was them, obviously, and I'm looking at those 2 prospects, I would lean Anthony Richardson based off of the coordinator that they brought in from the Eagles. But Will Levis, I mean, everybody talks about, the coordinator from Philly wants a guy like Jalen Hurts, but that's so easy and so cliche to say. Who's to say that he wants exactly what Jalen Hurts is? Will Levis is very mobile, and there's a lot of talks that he's going to be used in the read option just like Josh Allen was. So Will Levis has a lot of ability to move the football. And historically, the Colts like those big 6'6", 6'4" quarterbacks that are tough and can create with their legs, kind of like an Andrew Luck. Jim Isray has a thing for guys like that. So I'm not holding it out that they want to take a Will Levis. And I think if they took Will Levis, there's a chance that Anthony Richardson sitting there at 7.
Man, I don't know if that's gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we'll see, man. Like that, like this draft, I can't really predict too much. I feel like something is gonna happen crazy within the first I say there's gonna be a trade. I think there's gonna be a trade within the first 5 picks.
Yeah, for sure.
There's definitely gonna be a trade, and there's gonna be a team that's gonna pick a player where you didn't expect them to pick them. It always happens every year, but I feel like this year there's not a lot of blue chip prospects. Even the QBs, they all have kind of like red flags.
Yeah.
You got the Anthony Richardson, his experience. Some question his accuracy and his footwork. You got Bryce Young, his size. He can play the quarterback position. He's by far the best quarterback in the draft if you're just strictly looking at him playing the quarterback position. But you have to look at his size, his weight. You've never seen a QB that small play in the NFL and be productive because all it takes.
What is he compared to Kyler? Is he even smaller than Kyler?
I think he might be smaller than Kyler. The thing about Bryce Young, where people make that argument, like his size, is that he doesn't have like that Joker card in his skill set to offset it. So like it's not like he has a cannon arm like Russell Wilson. It's not like he has Kyler's speed. He's mobile, but he's not Kyler Murray mobile. You know what I mean?
And watching his tape, it's like when he gets hit, you're like, oh my gosh, like is he good? Like there was a times where he took some shots where you're just like, dude, is he going to be all right? Mm-hmm. And at the next level, those are the kind of shots that just kind of reminds me of Tua. I just don't want to see him get to that point in his career where he's getting beat and battered so much that, consciously he's not even there.
T. Severe in the building says the rumors that the Raiders tried to trade up to him makes me believe they had Stroud or Young in their sights based on the type of guys they usually target. I assume it was Stroud.
Yeah.
Hey man, Stroud is your guy, man. Stroud is your guy. But yeah, you're right, man. If they
I would agree with that. I would agree with that take.
Yeah. If they're looking to get number one, they want to get their guy, and that's going to be a quarterback. They're for sure looking at the quarterbacks in the draft.
With me, I agree with you that CJ Stroud is among he's up there with the Bryce. He's the one who came from the most loaded offense. His entire offensive line, a lot of those guys are going high in the draft. Within the top 100 picks, majority of that line is going to be gone. Okay, 3 of the 5 probably. You look at the wide receivers: Marvin Harrison Jr., Smith and Jigba. I mean, he's going to be a first-round talent. So he just had guys all over the place, which good. I mean, he showed that he could
his O-line. His O-line is one of the best in college football. So.
And it's just. Bryce, it's not the same Alabama team. Will Levis had a horrible offensive line, probably the worst out of everybody in those 4 teams. And the lack of playmakers, and Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson was lack at the skill position players, yet showed some promise at a lot of things that the Raiders like to do. They like to keep the ball at intermediate passes. So, those 20-yard passes, Anthony Richardson thrived in those. He struggles in the short area. I've probably not watched more film on a quarterback in the last 4 to 5 years than I have Anthony Richardson. I just think he struggles with short passes, which in Josh McDaniel's scheme, he's been attacking outside the numbers, which Anthony's really good at. He's been 20-yard passes and taking shots deep with a guy like Devontae Adams. So I think Anthony Richardson would be a good fit. So we'll just kind of see.
LB Maximus pretty much echoing what we're saying. I think this draft's going to have plenty of shocker. Yeah, because it's not super predictable. Like there's a lot of, even look, if you look at the Seattle Seahawks, they might want a quarterback. The Detroit Lions, who picked number 6, they can possibly take a quarterback. They have 2 first-round picks, and Seattle could take a quarterback too as well, because they could be we're never going to be in this position. We're ascending team. We have a high draft pick. It probably makes sense, even though they signed Geno Smith to a contract. Come on.
What makes
Is
me
he
think
really?
they're not going to take a quarterback is they signed Geno to a 3-year deal, but then they also signed Drew Lock to be the backup. So do you sign Drew Lock to be the backup? And as to where you look at the Raiders, they pretty much just have Jimmy G.
I mean, it depends on what that contract is for Drew Lock, though. Is it like?
Yeah, I think it's a 1-year deal, but
it's like a 1-year chump change
he's
deal.
the backup. You know what I mean? The Raiders have Jimmy G, and then they've got Chase Garbers. Now that doesn't mean the Raiders are locked in at 7. That means that they could go to 2, 3, and go get a Jake Hayner or whoever. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and then but the Lions could take a QB as well, because look, they have 2 first-round picks. They're another team that's ascending team, 9-8. They're pretty excited about their future, and Jared Goff is not signed to like a big deal. Like I think after this year, he's a free agent or something to that effect. They could look to get building towards the future, because now look, if you draft a QB here with you got 2 first-round picks, so then you're still upgrading the team. Whether if they're looking at upgrade defense, they could be like, you know what, probably a good time to draft a QB now, and we could draft defense or another part of our team. So they got more flexibility. I could see them kind of like,
they're kind of a dark horse team.
Dark horse team for sure. So if the Raiders are looking to get a QB, they have to trade. It's like there's no way they can just expect the guy to drop to them at number 7. You know what I mean? I think in my opinion, if they don't trade up, then if they're that top defensive player on the board is not going to be there on the board for them that they don't like, they could just trade down. Might as well. I mean, look, we rebuilding. Let's do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it right. Let's build that foundation. But yeah, appreciate everybody coming through, man. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me actually, I got a sound effect for the like button. Hit that like button, man. Hit that subscribe button. And when we go live, you want to know, some of you guys sometimes say, hey, I missed your live. Hit that notification bell as well. We do, like if you guys been watching this for a while, we switch off on each other's channel. The next time I go live, it's going to be on Raider Ray's channel. So you want to make sure you subscribe to both of our channels. My mods, if you're in there, make sure to post the links. But yeah, man, do you want to get into a call? You want to see if someone wants to call in? I don't know if
let's get into a call, and then we can do like 2 or 3 calls, and then maybe hop in a quick mock draft and wrap it up.
Yep. So the call-in number is 628-333-9343, man. If Raider Nation, man, just call in. Let us know your thoughts, man. We just trying to have a good conversation. Make sure to keep it clean, because, the YouTube, they're not too friendly when you just say everything that's on your mind. So just make sure just to keep it clean. We appreciate it. But the call-in number, as you can see it on the screen, is 628-333-9343. Let me see if I could do this instead. This might be more convenient. But you can see on the ticker down below, 628. Oh, you know what? Oh man, hold on 1 second. Let me set this up correctly.
Yeah, and just another reminder, you guys, when you guys call in, man, just express how you feel. Just keep it clean. Just kind of watch what you say. We try to make it a show that everybody can tune into. There might be people with kids and they just want to listen to good, clean Raiders content while they're doing stuff around the house. So we really appreciate everybody that's called in. Has just been phenomenal. So I know ONT6 wanted to call in. I seen him ask earlier. So this is an area where I really like. I like to hear from you guys. I like to sit down and have conversation with you guys. And it's all about it. It's a paradigm. This team is a paradigm. We can all see the team in different ways, and I think that collectively, when we come together and just talk about it and have natural discussion, maybe ONT6 could give me a perspective that maybe I wasn't necessarily seeing clearly, or I could do the same, or Afakazi could say something. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. So I do like the call-in shows, and I'm excited for the mock draft as well.
Mm-hmm. And LB Maximus, he brings up Hundo, one of the Raiders beat writers. He's always dropping some info. He says, Hundo says we're looking at the kid from Stanford. So the QB from Stanford, I think is Tanner McKee. And we got a call. Let's see here.
Call from
ONT6.
There he goes.
To accept, press 1. To send a voice.
Decline.
Hello, ONT6, man. Appreciate you calling in, man. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, Scarlett? What's up, Ray? How you doing, brother?
What's going on, bro?
Good. Let me load this out. Let me load this down for you, man. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead.
Oh, Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, man. What's on your mind?
No, man. You know what? Everybody's been hating on the moves Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels been making, but I actually love the moves, man. I mean, we're actually getting players that fit the system. You know what I mean? They're not the best names in the free agency or whatever, but I don't really care about that. I want players that actually come in here and do their job and fit the system.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly in this defense, we're clearly going to run the press-man coverage. You know what I mean? That's where we're getting all these corners in here. You know what I mean? Everybody's talking crap about David Long, but the only reason he looked horrible the last season is because we ran a zone defense over there with the Rams. Him coming out of Michigan, man, I really wanted the Raiders to draft him, man. He's your typical press-man corner, man. He has the height, the speed. You know what I mean? He can do it with the best of them. They weren't using him properly last year with the Rams, man. I really see him being our number 2 corner. And, man, I really do see the potential in that kid, man. I really do, you know what I mean? Especially, too, we're getting all these players that are on their second contracts in the NFL, you know what I mean? They're still in the early 20s, man. So, if they ball out for us, man, there's potential for them to get re-signed, man. So, I really like the move that we've been doing. Especially, when it comes to the draft now, it's a little interesting for me now because I don't think the Houston Texans are taking a quarterback at number 2, to be honest. Mr. Anderson. I think Anderson's going to go number 2 in the draft. Just because I have a buddy that's a Houston Texans fan, and he's been telling me they've been bolstering the offensive line, and it looks like they're probably going to go with David Mills next season. So if that's the thing about it, you know, D'Amico Ryans is a defensive-minded coach, and if he sees something special in Anderson, which everybody says that he's going to be the it, I think he's going to go number 2, which is going to throw the whole draft in the funk. So it's going to be possible. And then the thing is, too, now that Will Anderson had an amazing pro day, you know, our number 7 pick is looking very valuable that we can trade back. You know what I mean? Somebody might want to come up and get Will Levis. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting in the offseason. I'm really, you know, I trust Dave Ziegler very much more than I do Josh McDaniels. But so far, so good, especially with even the Jimmy Garoppolo. You know, I don't like him personally, but for the contract we got him, man, we saved a lot of cap space and stuff. You know what I mean? You know, is he more talented than Derek Carr? No, but at the end of the day, he's a better scheme fit. You know what I mean? In the system for Josh McDaniels, and that's all I want. You know what I mean? I just want to get the right players in here to build this right. Because at the end of the day, man, I'm just tired of losing. I'm tired of having stopgap players on free in free agency. You know what I mean? Just getting a linebacker for a year or 2, and then we got to go find another one. You know, I want permanent solution to these problems that we have on this defense. And then the day with these draft picks and this draft we can. And everybody, you know, wants to be hating that we got rid of Waller, but Waller quit on the team. You know what I mean? And the bye week, he was supposed to be doing a rehab, and he didn't even show up. He just left a voicemail saying, you know what? I don't care. I'm not showing up. You know what I mean?
Right.
The great Mike Singletary, when he benched Davis, you know, and back in the day, he said, I want winners. I want team players. You know what I mean? If you don't want to win, you're not committed here. I don't want you here. And that day, he didn't want to be here. You know what I mean? Even with Denzel Perryman, too. Since last season, we were trying to get a contract extension done. You know what I mean? It's almost been a year and a half now, and then all of a sudden he walks. He clearly didn't want to be here. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, man, all the guys that Gruden brought in, they're all getting weeded out. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and it's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because I'm tired of if we're not on the same page, on the same goal, then what are we doing? You know what I mean? It seems guys were just fighting in the locker room. It was the Gruden guys with the Josh McDaniels guys. At the end of the day, man, we just got to get all these guys that don't want to be here on the same page. You know what I mean? It just goes to show you that some of the players that Gruden was coaching with Derek Carr, you know what I mean? Even coming out that he didn't like publicly getting criticized in front of the team. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It just shows that Josh McDaniels treats all his players the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but to be fair though, ONT6, not to cut you off. To be fair, we don't know what's going on in those contract negotiation rooms. You know what I mean? They probably lowballed him. He felt like he probably could have got a better deal somewhere else. And maybe he was excited to play under D'Amico Ryans, you know, defensive coach. Look, like, and you just mentioned right now, a lot of the Gruden guys are leaving the building. They're getting their guys. I know a lot of y'all don't want to hear this, but it's the Las Vegas Patriots. And not to say that, you know, this is what a lot of teams do. I mean, a lot of teams, the new coaching staff comes in, they're going to bring in guys that they coached before that fit in their system. So they're going through that process right now. They're going young at the position, guys that they could mold and groom in their system, which is going to happen in the upcoming draft. What they have like 12 or 11 to 12 picks. So yeah, like some crazy like that. I'm just like, you know, they're probably going into it saying that, you know what, we're not gonna be able to upgrade all of the positions on this team. including the defense. Even if they focus on defense, they wouldn't be able to address every defensive position this year. So they're going to try to get the best players in their mind as much as possible. And then I think next season, I think that's when we can like expect not the upcoming season. I think as long as our expectations next season are a little bit lowered, like it's
a lot lower.
A lot lower. Come on, let's be honest. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Denver got Sean Payton at head coach, so we don't know. That could be a game changer. You know, their defense is solid. And then even Justin Herbert. I know a lot of guys don't. I know Raider fans don't like Herbert, and he's a good quarterback. And he just got an offensive coordinator that coached your boy Dak Prescott. Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. We got someone on the line. OT6. Do you have any last thoughts, man? I appreciate you calling in, man. What are you looking forward to the offseason?
Now, I'm just looking to see what we do in the draft. And one last thing before you guys let me go. A lot of people don't know we still have $30 million dead cap space. You know what I mean? From John Gruden contracts. You know what I mean? That's why we're not able to sign these break free agents either, man. But thanks for having me on. God bless, guys, and until the next one, go Raiders.
All right, man. Go Raiders, man. Appreciate it calling in, man. All right, man. Hey, next call. I think we lost the other caller too as well. If you want to call back in, you see the number 628-333-9343. I believe it might have been T Severe.
I want to kind of piggyback off of what he was talking about the Texans, though, to kind of divert from the Raiders a little bit. That number 2 pick, D'Amico Ryans. Look, he could go get a cornerstone defensive player, and we know that next year, the quarterback market, Davis Mills shows that he can start in the league. Is he a franchise premier guy? No, but maybe D'Amico can take this year, and instead of trying to just throw a ton of stuff at the offensive side, maybe he's trying to build up a defense and go get a quarterback in a deep draft next year. Really let that rookie walk into a situation that he has a really good defense, and then he has weapons outside.
What's going on, T Severe, man? Appreciate you calling in, man. How you doing, bro?
Oh man, I'm doing excellent, man. How y'all doing?
Good. I'm
good, man. We trying to talk to that. We trying to talk Raider football right now, man. What's on your mind?
Oh, for sure. Yo, so let me put y'all on mute over here. So let me just say this, man, to everybody in the nation, we just gotta relax. To quote Aaron Rodgers, man, just relax right now. I think a lot of people are panicking. There is a plan in place, and I know a lot of people aren't happy with what they've seen so far in free agency, but we're not in a position to go after these big name players. And people know they want us to go out. Like one of the people everybody wanted us to sign was Hargrave. Like who knew who Hargrave was 3 years ago when the Eagles signed him from the Steelers, right? That wasn't a big name free agent. Nobody really know who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And now 3 years later, he just got one of the biggest contracts in free agency, right? So we just need to, let this thing play out. We're not going to, sell ourselves. We're not going to like give out these Javon Walker, Jabril Wilson, type contracts. We're doing like,
you bringing it, you taking it way back, man. Those are haunted memories for me, man. Nightmares.
Exactly, right? Even the Corey Littleton, like we're not in a position to kind of.
We're still playing right Corey Littleton. I think we pay him until 20.
Hey, we're paying him handsomely. We're paying him $10 million this year.
Whoo, that was a terrible contract.
That's dead money. I think we're paying like, I think next year when a lot of the dead money clears, we like not factoring these contracts. I think we're going to have like $90 million in cap space if you didn't factor in the people we just signed. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to throw bad money at the good, right? So we got to build this thing correctly, and you try to find people that fit your system. And you might not be out there hitting home runs, but we just need to hit a whole bunch of doubles. That's all we need to do, hit a whole bunch of doubles. And then, once we start making contact, one of these guys, could be that guy, right? Could be the guy that's like, okay, man, we signed this guy on the cheap. And now this guy blew up. And now we have a guy in-house. Last year, we gave out a whole bunch of money. Josh McDaniels, I think we hired him in like January. Right after that, we extended Max, or gave Max a new contract. We gave Hunter a new contract. We gave Derek a new contract. We traded for Devontae, gave him a new contract. Gave Darren Waller a new contract, right? We threw a whole bunch of money trying to set up Derek Carr, give him the best possible, supporting cast so we can go out and win that year. It didn't work. So now we have to hit the reset button. Let's go back to square one, build this thing the right way. And I think that's what they're in the middle of doing right now. I know Josh gets a lot of flack for what he did, quote unquote, in Denver. They traded Derek Carr, the same thing he did with Jay Cutler.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain type of quarterback that he likes. And, and come to find out,
Tim Tebow?
Jay Cutler was coming off. I think that was a mistake in terms of talent, right? That Tim Tebow has the right attitude, but he didn't have the right talent. And Jay Cutler, he's a guy that notoriously, though, really didn't care about football enough. He didn't have the right makeup, and I think that at the time, his talent kind of was able to mask that, so he was playing well. But once he got to Chicago, that was exposed.
Right.
And so I think that, he wants guys that are like the Max Crosbys, like the Devontae Adams, right? Those are the guys that, even though came out in that NFL Players Association report that he keeps them there longer, and he doesn't always listen to their input. But Mad Max and Devontae, those are the kind of guys like, I don't mind grinding. I'm gonna be here till the sun go down. I'm gonna be the first person here in the morning. Like, those are the grinders, and those are the guys when they ask about what you think about Josh, like, man, I love Josh. Like, Josh is, he knows what he's doing. Right. I think it's those other guys that are like, they're not willing to make that necessary commitment. And I think those are the guys that you're starting to see, like, a lot of these guys aren't coming back. And it's, those guys that, aren't really in love with ball, I think, like Josh is and like Zeke is, and like, those kind of guys that he likes. That's why Jacoby's here instead of Waller.
Right. And you know what? Look, I'm on the thought process. I'm thinking I'm gonna give, obviously we have no choice but to give Josh McDaniels a chance, but I have my doubts because as much as Derek Carr was terrible last year and our defense was bad, he made some questionable. He was part of the Raiders losing the games that they lost to as well. You know what I mean? He's the head coach of the team.
Yeah.
And I think that he's coming back next year. We'll see how it works out. Because now, like, he's gonna focus on getting his guys. Now he's gonna get his guys, and we'll see how it works. I think. What would you say for him to come back? Like, because you never know. You never know what's gonna happen next season. But let's say, how many games does Josh McDaniels have to win in order to be the head coach for the Raiders in 2024?
So I wouldn't put a number on games. I think that the team has to show progress. So you can't make the same kind of mistakes that you made this past year. You can't be giving up big leads, no matter who you thought it was, right? I was looking at a stat of 9. We're up in the second half or fourth quarter by double digits in 9 games. 7 of those games, Derek Carr threw a second half interception, right? Like, so that's on both of them though, right? That's not all on Carr. It's partly on Josh as well. So you can't make those same kind of mistakes. And you can't lose the locker room, right? You cannot lose the locker room. I think even if we're doing better and he loses the locker room, the leaders, like guys like Max or Devontae, come to Mark and it's like, yo, what? This is not the guy. I don't think he returns. But I don't think it's necessarily a certain number of games he has to win. I just think the team has to show progress. The team has to show progress.
Okay. But look. So you're telling me if the team shows progress and they win 4 games, that's you think Josh McDaniels is going to survive that with Mark Davis, who wants to win in Las Vegas?
I think if Mark is not out, so Mark is, because remember, like, I think Gruden's first year we won like 4 games, then we won like 6 games, and then like Josh didn't get that first tear down year that Gruden had. Gruden came right in, everybody gone, right? Everybody's gone. The next year, he fires Reggie McKenzie, too. They just, a few years previously won, NFL Executive of the Year. So I think Gruden had his first year was his teardown year. Mm-hmm. Josh didn't have that his first year. Josh tried to go forward with the guy that, he thought and everyone thought was going to be our franchise quarterback. It turned out that, they changed their mind. They had seen enough, sometime in the middle of the season to say, this isn't our guy. And then they probably start formulating their plan then, like, what are we going to do this off season? If in case we can't recover from this. And so I think this is like they're kind of, hey, let's kind of reset, start off with a new plan. The previous plan we had, we put all the chips in the middle of the table, we crapped out. Let's try something else. And I think this is going to be that year now where they're kind of like, we're afraid of the term rebuild, but that's essentially, what we're doing.
Pretty much.
And when you have, when you kind of miss out on the number of picks that we have, especially first round picks that we have over the past year, like, you're due for a rebuild. You cannot miss on that many first round picks in that short span of time and not have to rebuild it or not have to build it the correct way, right? The past regime, they we point to that one playoff season, but that team was being held together by duct tape and super glue, right? It wasn't built correctly because it wasn't enough of our own guys. It was guys at key positions like quarterback. We had Max, but it wasn't enough of our guys that we drafted. I think we've had the least amount of snaps played by actual draft picks in the past 5 years than any NFL franchise. Like, you can't build a team that way. So I think they're going to try to build it right. We got 12 picks this year. We're going to probably make some trades, move up in key areas. I don't see us, signing 12 rookies right now, but we're going to probably make some moves and try to build through the draft. And the guys that we're signing free agency now are placeholders. I think the team really likes. I think they really like Shannon Webb. As much as we might not like him in the nation, he's a guy that kind of fits their profile at cornerback. So I think he's a guy that could end up, being better than people are giving him credit for. We just drafted 2 D tackles last year. They didn't see a lot of playing time. We didn't bring back Billings, and we did bring back Tiller, but I think they're going to get every opportunity to play. The team gave Devon Diablo the green dot last year, so obviously they saw something in him as well. So I think they're really just going to try to focus on the guys in-house and developing the guys in-house, and then building to the draft as well.
Hey, T Severe, man, as always, man, you always coming in with the fire calls. I appreciate you calling in and supporting. I know CJ Stroud is your guy. Before we let you go, man, what's a guy that if you can't get CJ Stroud, it doesn't have to be a quarterback. What player are you looking at in the first round, man, that you want the Raiders to draft if it's not CJ Stroud?
If it's not CJ Stroud, which I doubt if we get a chance to draft CJ Stroud. If it's not Stroud, even though he scares me, but if he falls to us, man, I think we have to take Carter. I think we have to take Jalen Carter. And that he scares me just because his off the field stuff. But Darryl Russell had off the field stuff. Warren Sapp had off the field. Like a lot of the great guys. I mean, like when you play on the defensive line, you gotta have something loose in your head a little bit, right? You gotta be a little something loose in your head.
You gotta be crazy.
I mean,
if you play football, you gotta be crazy for sure.
Exactly. Like, you're grown men running full speed into one another. Like, you got to have a little bit of a screw loose. So, but in terms of talent, he's the best player in this draft, regardless of position. So I think if you can get a guy like that can anchor your defense. Now, a lot of teams missed out on Jeffrey Simmons, and some of that was because of character concerns when he was at Mississippi State. And now look at Jeffrey Simmons now. So, I think that, Jalen Carter, if he falls to us, he should be the pick. Man,
appreciate you, T Severe, man. Appreciate you calling in, bro.
Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good one. All right, my guy T Severe, man, always coming in, dropping facts, man, calling in, man, always supporting. Appreciate you calling in.
I love it. And I like what he's saying because it's kind of alluding, it's kind of like piggybacking off of what we were talking about. I think the Raiders can get better even if they sign less sexy names and draft really well and get the right guys. I think this season more so than ever before. I think when you watch this team on the field, you're going to feel a culture change in Las Vegas. This is going to be the season where you feel like, okay, this is different. It's going to be the first time where it's really looked different. I feel like we got that halfway last year. We got Devontae, and there were some things that just felt different. You could tell it's a new regime, and different ideologies of how they like to run a football team, but then there was still a little bit of that old regime tied in there with them. I think this is going to be the year where you're like, okay, this is the direction that this franchise is trying to go.
And just like we said earlier in the show, man, we're going to do a mock draft. And let me just get this started. So how many rounds do you want to do? You want to do 2 rounds? Just keep it simple.
Let's do 3 because there's still going to be some good players on the board at 3, and I think we'll be able to navigate through it. We can just do the Raiders picks and just kind of see who falls to us.
Let's just do it. You want to do it fast, right? Fast.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's draft and select your team.
The Raiders. Right. Go down to there you go.
Boom. All right. Let's draft. Can everybody see it? All right, yeah, I think it's on the screen. You're perfect. Okay. Let me move this so people can see actually. Let me move this up here. All right. Let's see.
I'm excited, man. There's gonna be a lot to talk about. We can just kind of see how this board falls and kind of address it.
All right. So round 1. Oh, that was fast. Bryce Young goes number 1. CJ Stroud, T-Xavier's guy right here, went number 2 to the Texans.
Ooh,
Miles Murphy, number 3. So no one traded up to get to number 3. Anthony Richardson goes number 4. Will Anderson drops a number 5. And number 6, Christian Gallus, number 7. So we got
some 3 trade offers on the board. Now I think we should look at these. Okay, we kind of have to talk about it because I want to see who's on the board. So
I'm taking it.
Pick 11. So we're moving down 4 spots, and we're gonna get another first round pick. Hit the next button.
Hold on, let me see next.
The division rival. No,
but then that's a lot though. 54.
I don't care.
We're not trading that. Okay. No.
Okay, so I guess we have a discussion to make here. So Raider Nation, I want you guys to get involved with this as well. Go back to the very first one with the Tennessee Titans. I think this is intriguing actually, because we have to look at the board. I think Jalen Carter's here. I kind of agree with T. Severe. I think you have a huge glaring hole on the defensive side. If Jalen Carter were to fall to you here at 7, I have him valued way higher than a Will Levis. I think we can address the quarterback position later, especially with a talent like Jalen Carter on the board. Let's see. There's can you go down to the bottom and
hey chat, let us know, man. Should we accept the trade offer from the Titans, pick number 11 and their first round pick next year, or the Chargers pick number 21, which I believe is the first round pick, 54, 85 and their first next year? And then the Saints also want to get that number 7 pick with pick number 29, which is a first round pick, I believe. Yeah, pick 40, another second round, a third round pick 71, and a first next year and a 4th next year as well.
If you had the opportunity to get a first next year and have 2 first round draft picks next year with $100 million in cap space, and you're only moving down 4 spots, that's something you got to talk about. Because you can still get a good defensive player there at 11, but are you willing to pass on a guy like Jalen Carter at 7?
Just so we can make this visually pleasing, that pick number 11 we could get a good player at pick number 11, and we get a first round pick, and the Titans might be trash next year.
Yeah, that could be a top pick in the first round.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. But I see the draft haul here. You know what I mean? I see this. I see all of this, but it's just to pick 29 is just, come on, man.
Okay, so I think it's down to 2 things. Do you want to trade with the Tennessee Titans, or are you guys wanting to stand firm at 7?
Or I forgot to entertain this too. Yes, stay for, like you just said. Ray said, stay at number 7. Carter's on the board. If you guys don't want to risk taking Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson, top O tackle on the board, Paris Johnson is on the board. Will Levis, you could say arguably the top quarterback on the board. And then, Devon, a lot of people's number 1 corner, Witherspoon, is on the board. Remember, we just talked about how, like,
get him at 11, though. You can get one of those 2 corners at 11.
Christian Gonzalez went at number 6.
Off the board. Okay, so Devon Witherspoon is going to be Joey Porter.
Usually when a player gets taken at a position, they're usually at a run. Like, they teams start getting nervous. Exactly. They start trading up. They try to, start taking that position.
Okay, realistically, though, Raider Nation, with his issues, specifically with speeding and all of this, is this a potential guy? Because we're going to be realistic. Like, would I love the talent of Jalen Carter? I think he has the best talent of everybody in the draft. He's the number one player on my big board. He was in the offseason. But realistically, is he on the Raiders board? And are the Raiders willing to carry this legal issue? That's the big question. Pharoah, do you think that he's on the Raiders board still?
Man,
do we have the culture? Do we have the culture in place right now to be able to take on a guy like this?
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. As much as I love Jalen Carter as a player, like Vegas and his immaturity issues is like, oh my God.
And what have we been talking about? We've been talking about missing on first round picks. Damon Arnett with the gun issue. Henry Ruggs killed somebody in Vegas. You know, it's crucial. I know the talent is there, but this one, I'm almost leaning trading down to pick 11 and getting a first round next year.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll you know what? We'll do this. We'll accept this trade, and then the next one we'll let the chat choose.
Okay.
So we'll just accept this right here. We go to pick 11,
and we still have got a ton of people on the board.
So. Jalen Carter goes number 8. So I know a lot of people in the chat was like, get Carter. But he goes 8 to the Falcons. Tyree Wilson goes number 9, and Jason Smith, can't pronounce Jibba, whatever. He goes at 10 to the Eagles.
Jackson
Another
Smith,
receiver,
whatever.
Man, golly, like they're just stockpiling talent over there at that.
Man, look at what they're willing to give up. We can go into the next year's draft with 4 first-round draft picks.
Oh my God,
but we're not gonna. We won't do that.
This would be beautiful. Like as a Raider fan, this would be beautiful because both these teams are going to be trash. Yeah. Most likely, there's a good chance
Carolina might be good.
Carolina, their quarterback position is kind of shaky.
Yeah,
it's kind of shaky. They haven't really kind of addressed it. We'll see what they do. Obviously, they have the first pick in the draft, so we'll see what they do and how that goes for them. Chicago. What I'm saying is these are teams that are like they're still trying to establish themselves. So they can easily, go.
But if we took this trade, this kicks us out of the first round entirely.
Yeah. So we're gonna reject this because we want to draft somebody.
I like it. I like the 2 future first. I love that. But I mean, we need a.
We got 2 offers though. We got 2 offers. Let's see. Second offer.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean, that's still really good capital, but
yeah. But this, if you think about it, this is out. This is completely out of the first round. So I don't know if I would even.
Nah.
Would you entertain this in real life?
That's appealing to me.
2 first round picks next year.
I know. Well, we already just inherited another one from our first trade. We would have 4 first round picks.
Man, that'd be crazy. We have 3 first round picks next year. It's just like, damn,
that'd be so fun.
with $100 million in cap
That'd be
space.
So fun. Talk about crazy. A show in Vegas.
But we got to draft somebody. I'm going to reject it.
We're going to reject it. We're going to look at the big board.
All right.
I think you should go to the defense icon, and I think we should take a look at a defensive player.
Okay, so let's go defense. And as you can see, Will Levis is still there on the board. And then
we didn't have to reach at 7 if that was the guy.
Hey, Witherspoon is right there, but let's go defense. We can see everybody on the board. Brian Brees, top D tackle on the board.
Lucas Van Ness is a guy.
I'm not a big Brian Branch safety, smallest safety. I don't know. Joey Porter, corner. Another corner we could look at, but Devon Witherspoon is the number 1 corner on the board. A lot of people have him as the number 1 corner, but obviously Christian Gonzalez has the measurables at 6'1", and I think Witherspoon's at 5'11".
Yeah, he's touching 6 foot.
Yeah,
he's close.
He's your guy.
He's my guy. Hey, look, we inherited another first round draft pick next year, and if you're telling me I could trade back, get a first, and then land Devon Witherspoon, a guy who plays with a bunch of juice, bunch of swagger, can turn the football over. You get your CB1 of the future. This guy's a Raider. For me, it's Devon Witherspoon.
You know what's so crazy about those draft picks, those first round picks, and they'll never happen, is because next year is supposed to be the quarterback draft.
Exactly.
And imagine having all those first round picks, and let's say
you could trade up and get whoever you wanted.
Yeah, but that's just we over here just daydreaming, man. But Witherspoon is a guy. Let's pick Witherspoon.
Yeah, Witherspoon's.
I'm thinking like that. It has to be him. Like number one, we
the
need
guys
a
that are on
number
the
one corner.
board. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Nate Hobbs gets to play with his former teammate. Boom.
Okay, so we're walking into. I like pick 38. Let's stay at pick 38 because I want to see who's on the board here.
Okay, let me recheck these two trades. So, all right,
like
so we got BJ Olajeri. So let's go all. We'll see. Dalton Kincaid, tight end.
Gosh, that's a good pick right there.
Darnell Washington. You know what I mean?
That's another
He
good
looks
one.
like he'll fit. I know a lot of guys are like, oh, we should go defense again, but we do have a hole at that tight end position, and they want a guy that's a blocker, that's a mauler over there. That want that.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I'm taking Dalton Kincaid over a guy like Darnell Washington. And I say that only because over in Utah, he was the only weapon, and every defense that played Utah knew it, and they could not stop this kid. This kid has pass catching tight end all over him. Extremely dynamic playmaker when the ball's in his hand. Excellent at breaking tackles and continue to move the chains. For me, if we're going to go offensively, I would go Dalton Kincaid. Can we kind of take a look at defense real quick?
Yeah, we can go defense here. And we have BJ Jerry, Mozzie Smith, the D tackle. You know what I mean? You want to, hey, this is what we've been talking about all year. We need to address that front seven, you know, that D, whether D line or linebacker. You got Jack Campbell over here. You know, you got some guys that you could possibly Drew Sanders, linebacker. I know some people like Mozzie Smith as well. Or we can just trade off offense, defense. It seems
okay,
like
for me, it's between Dalton Kincaid and Drew Sanders. If these are the guys on the board, I really like Jack Campbell. If we could get him later down on the board, I feel like
T Severe, we on the same page. At Darnell Washington, man, I think he fits
good.
that Patriots like a guy that's that Gronk. You know what I mean? A guy
that's
that can
what
block,
I think about Kincaid. He's like that too.
Okay, but he's more of a. I think he's more of a receiver type.
Yeah,
he's more of a receiver type. I think he probably might be a better receiver, but I'm not sure if he's a better blocker. But let's see. Let's look at the chat real quick. Let me move this real quick. Let's see.
Yeah, I think honestly, based off of need, I think we might be able to. We might be able to get a tight end in the third, and there's still going to be a good one. I think with the linebacker need that we have, I think if Drew Sanders is sitting there and you have that big of a need and you need a leader, a future captain in that front seven, I think you might lean Drew Sanders with this pick. I'm just kind of
okay.
Chat, let me know.
Hey, should we go defense or offense? If we go offense, we're going Kincaid. If we're going defense, most likely is going to be a linebacker out of Arkansas.
So what do you guys think is the biggest need right now, tight end or linebacker? And let's not just say what's the biggest need, but who's the better player at their position? I think that's pretty tough.
And let me just go back here so y'all can see.
Man, a pick before us, Osiris Torrance went. That would have been a really good selection. Kalijah Cansey.
Oh, Cansey was there too.
Yeah.
Oh, I think be honest with you, that would have been a nice little trade up to get
trade up. But look at all those players, like
that would have been
34 through 37. Those are all good players. I wouldn't mind having.
Yeah, but you know, well, we only could deal with.
All right, we're gonna go linebacker here. I think we go get Drew Sanders. I
think linebacker. All right, we going linebacker.
Captain of the defense and put a young guy there.
All right, so we're in the third round. No, second round pick, but we're this is make believe, y'all.
Yeah,
we're just trying to draft.
We're at the point in round 3. We're not doing all the little trade backs.
Ooh. All right, so we got top player on the board, Andre Carter II out of Army Edge. Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, this one's hard. Hard.
Hendon Hooker is available in the third. You know,
go. Man, Andre Carter.
I don't know if there's any Hendon Hooker guys in the chat, man. But he's available here. But you know, there's some other players here on the board as well.
I like Ivan Pace Jr. linebacker out of Cincinnati. I think that'd be a good pick to put another linebacker in there. Yeah, go. There you go.
Ivan
Tucker
Pace?
Kraft. That's a good tight end. Tucker Kraft would be a good tight end. He is definitely like a New England Patriot type of pick. Overshown, he'd be a good coverage guy. Linebacker. There's a lot of good football players here on the third. This is where I really start to like the
As you
draft.
can see, Ray's super excited right now.
I
Third
am.
round pick is where it's bread and butter.
This is where a lot of those guys fall that you can get a lot of value here. That's why I like the Raiders having 2 third-round picks this year. And then I believe they've got multiple fifths, and I think they might have 2 fourths. I don't know. I mean, look, you can go get out Hendon Hooker. He's going to be 25 coming on the ACL injury. By the time he starts, he might be 26, 27 years old, but for third-round value, that might be okay.
A guy that I think LV Maximus said that Hondo reported that Tanner McKee, he's still on the board.
But he's projected at 111.
So that might be a little too early for him. So then maybe that goes back to you going defense here. And
I don't mind it. I think of value. I think Hendon Hooker plays the most important position on the field.
You got a DJ Turner. I don't know how you feel about DJ Turner.
Yeah. There's a few guys I would take before him here that's on the board currently. For me, you guys, it's between I like Andre Carter. I really do. It's between Hendon Hooker for me and go down a little bit.
So you want to go all defense, offense?
Go to defense real quick. So either Hendon Hooker or I'm going to go Ivan Pace Jr. Those are the 2 players I've got on my board.
All right, let's see what we got over here. Look, agree. Okay, let's see. I think let me take my.
T Severe says take Hooker. Yeah, I could see why people don't like Carter just because the size of him. It's hard to see
man, Jimmy G and Hendon Hooker in Las Vegas. That'd be crazy, man. Crazy combination. Which Dial Up says was gonna ask if Hooker is there. You almost have to take him, especially
Hey, yeah, let's take a risk here.
He's like a 25, 26-year-old rookie.
Take Hendon Hooker because I don't think he's going to be there with our next third-round pick. We might still be able to grab a Ivan Pace Jr. That's my plan here.
Okay, so Hendon Hooker is the pick. All right, man. It's all about value, man. We got a young QB that could possibly be a QB with a future.
Yep, I think Ivan Pace is going to be off the board here. Pick 100.
Oh yeah, we have another. And I am going to reject. All right, so pick 100. We got let's see who the top players on the board. We got a few running backs that's on the board. Jared Brown. I like this tight end out of Old Dominion. He's from an old college, but Zach Kuntz, he had a nice little combine.
Yeah, but maybe try that defensive side of the ball real quick.
Hey, it's all defense, man, all day.
I just want to see. Ooh, Keanu Benton at the defensive tackle spot. That might be a nice little run stopper. Trading.
Let's see what the chat is.
DJ Johnson. No.
Yeah, that's true, T. Severe. He is 24. No one really talks about that too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He was he didn't play in the Senior Bowl, but he could have played in the Senior Bowl.
Will McDonald. Yeah, he'd be a decent one too. Oh, this one's kind of hard. Maybe you actually go look at the guard position real quick. Kind of curious if there's any guards that fell here.
A third round is notorious for having guards. You know what I mean? Future starters at the guard position.
Can it go up a little bit or no?
This is the highest.
I mean, Luke or Jr., Andrew.
You want to go down?
No, you're good. Okay, go to the tackle spot.
Boom.
Jordan McFadden. Yeah, this is where it kind of tapers off for sure. I think at this point you got to go defense. I think obviously. I think for me it's Benton. I think you go out there and get a defensive tackle. We didn't address it with Jalen Carter. You can go grab this guy. For his size, Benton has enough first step quickness to shoot into gaps off the snap and generate displacement against blockers. He flashes great long track explosiveness and closing speed through rushing lanes. When he has a clear path to quicken his strides, Benton can gain ground quickly on opponents in the backfield. Additionally, he has So whatever that is, lateral agility to offset blockers and to work across face quickly as a pass rusher. Benton is reasonably athletic, but his combined play strength and power elements generate the most appeal. The Wisconsin DT has elite play strength that helps him win consistently in both phases.
So he's a run stopper.
Yeah, I'm taking him.
You're taking a okay.
I'm taking him.
He's that guy for you. All right.
He's got some upside.
Let's see here. Let's go with that pick. So that is our first 3-round mock draft, and we got a fake 2024 Tennessee first round pick out of all of this, and we got Devon Witherspoon with our. Hey, this is not bad. Hey, this is solid draft.
Yeah,
solid. Three rounds. There's only 3 rounds, right? We have 2 third-round picks, second-round pick, and a first-round. Obviously, we traded with Tennessee to get a first-round, a make-believe first-round pick. Hey, you never know. Hendon Hooker might not be that guy, and hey, we might have like a top 15 pick. That extra first-round pick might help in getting up to a good spot to take one of the top QBs on the board.
I really want to focus on the first 3 because you're potentially getting a Devon Witherspoon and a Drew Sanders who can be future captains of the defense.
Right.
So I know that they, like every other move in the Raiders offseason, these might not be the sexy picks, but I think that these are good fits for what the Raiders are trying to move in that direction. Mm-hmm. These are 2 future leaders. And then in the 3rd round, you're talking about a guy who could potentially take over your franchise, Hendon Hooker. So you could potentially get a guy who is a franchise quarterback and 2 leaders on the defense. And I think that's a pretty solid draft.
Facts, 100%, man. But yeah, man, we just wanted to get in here and talk to y'all, man, talk some football. It's been a minute. And we wanted to talk about the latest moves of free agency, man. If y'all just came in, make sure to hit that like button, and also subscribe to the channel if you have subscribed already, and to also hit that notification bell. So next time we go live, you'll be notified, as well as subscribe to my guy, Raider Ray. If my mods can post the links in the chat, man, make sure we switch off. The next time I go live, we'll be on Raider Ray's channel. But yeah, man, we just wanted to get in here, talk some football. We haven't talked in a minute, so we just wanted to talk to y'all, man. But we had a pretty good show today. Any last thoughts, man? What are you looking forward to with free agency kind of like dying down a little bit? Where the Raiders are probably gearing up for the draft. Yep. Do you see anything? Any big moves? Any moves coming up? I
wouldn't say necessarily big moves. I think if you see a big move, it's going to be draft night. Don't be surprised if the Raiders still go out there and add some depth pieces. But really, you guys, I'm excited for the combine. I believe it's March 30th, if I'm not mistaken. March 30th is going to be the pro day for Florida. So I'm really curious to see how Anthony Richardson performs there. And maybe the next mock draft will include trades, and maybe we can get a little bit aggressive as well. So we'll see. I think Raider Nation, just sit tight, be patient, and I think you should. I think we need to accept the things that Raider Nation isn't comfortable accepting right now. It's a rebuild, and a rebuild isn't necessarily a bad thing. We've seen teams bounce back quickly from rebuild, so I don't look at it as a negative. I look at it as a positive. A rebuild is on the horizon. We've got a draft that's going to change the foundation of the Raiders organization coming up here soon. And I think we should buckle in and get excited for the culture change that's about to take place with the Raiders.
Facts, 100%, man. We appreciate everybody coming through, man. Salute to Raider Nation. Salute to everybody in the chat that was here, man. Until next time. Peace.
Great Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the 5 rivers.
Just win, baby.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.